Today is the beginning of the being experiment, which I know we've been talking a lot about. I haven't taken a look in the last day to see who has registered for it. I know some of you have, so I'll be checking that later today. If you haven't and you're interested, what you have to do is go to the Facebook group, and it's a separate area. So essentially what we've done is we've created an event called the Being Experiment. So you would just go and you would basically say that you're attending, and that's essentially all it requires for you to enroll in it. And all that does is tell us who's playing the Being Experiment game with us and who's not. And the reason that that's important is because the people who are participating in the Being Experiment will be held to a much higher level of accountability, responsibility, and the integrity that we're expecting from everyone who's participating is just going to be at a much higher level. So it helps us help to keep you and you to keep us more accountable when coming from that place. And the practices as well for each week will be different in the sense that they'll be more they will be more in-depth and enriching than the regular practices that we'd be posting for the general group. So we have in the Facebook community something between 90 and 100 people registered for the weekly workshops, but those in the Being Experiment will get sort of an additional level of practices and content, and there's a different level of expectation. And so with the beginning of the Being Experiment, we thought it was important to begin, especially with everyone who was requesting more of a deep conversation about intention, about the nature of intention, and about having the opportunity to maybe dig deep enough to explore what is your underlying or default intention that might be running your life. We understand that it's challenging to think about your transformation without knowing what you don't know that could be running the show. So when Anurag and James and I met latter part of last week, I mentioned this to him, and he was happy to do some work to kick off the Being Experiment to deepen the conversation about intention. And so today Anurag is going to be teaching for about 30 minutes, give or take, in sort of a more conventional way, but we want to spend the bulk of the time today, so at least an hour, giving the opportunity for all of you to participate in more of a traditional workshop format where there's a dialogue back and forth about what your default intention might be, how to uncover it, questions you may have about it. And we're not going to be able to get to everybody, likely, that's my guess. And so Anurag has also said that if there is more work to be done, because he's so committed to making sure that everybody is really clear on either how to uncover their default intention so that they can then set a new one, or if you think you know what it is, to deepen it and to enrichen it, that he would be prepared as well to do an additional workshop on it on Wednesday morning before he leaves for India, which he's going to be gone for, I can't remember, probably 2 or 3 weeks anyway, the bulk of the month. The rest of the month is going to be still focused on intention work. In fact, the whole month of the Being Experiment in January is on intention, because just because you intellectually get something or understand something doesn't mean that you have shifted who you're being and where you're coming from as a result of it. There's more work to be done. So James and I are going to be continuing the work on intention and looking at it from different perspectives and different angles, so that by the end of this month, everybody who's participating in this work can set a new intention for the rest of the year. And then in February, we'll be doing a different body of work. That doesn't mean intention is off the table. We're going to be talking about it all throughout the year. It just means the hyper focus of only dealing with intention will not be the work of February. but we're always coming from our intention. We're always successfully living from our intention. So it's going to be part of the dialogue all year. Okay, which is why we thought it would be so important to begin this year with that. Before I turn it over to Anurag, there's only one other bit of housekeeping that I want to address. And there's been several people who either have directly reached out to me or us. Some of you have posted in the Facebook group that there is a preference that we would start the Zoom calls every week with the cameras automatically off. And I mentioned in the Facebook group that I was going to be addressing this week. I had a conversation with James and Anurag about this. I've done a lot of my own reflecting on it as well. Let me start by saying we certainly understand and can empathize with why that makes sense. Some of us are more tech savvy than others. Some of us are just not used to doing these types of virtual environments. And so that's where our empathy comes from, where we understand that it can be distracting for some of you if someone is not attentive to how they're being in front of a camera, that it can be distracting and or worse. But here's the thing. We've decided not to do that, not to turn the cameras off. And the reason is because it's not the nature of the community that we're actually trying to create. This community is not mine and James and Anurag's community. It's all of ours. We are co-creating, as Anurag has said many times, we are prototyping something for humanity. And one of the things that we are intentionally desiring to prototype with all of you is a community where there is shared accountability and responsibility for what gets created. So in a consumer-based or consuming-based model versus a creating model, the consumer shows up as a passive participant and expects their needs to be met and served from whatever and whoever they're consuming from. And what that action actually does is it makes it all about you. And what we've said over and over again is actually none of this is about you and none of this is about us. It's not about us, right? So we look at it from the perspective of take some accountability for your experience. You are as much in control of your experience as we are. And so if there is somebody who is not attentive to their camera and you find it distracting, there are two things to consider in that situation. One, why, and this is an introspection for you, why are you so distracted and unpresent to what's going on that someone can take you off point? Something to think about. Second, why are you divesting your responsibility and your accountability to reach out to that person independently if it's so bothersome to you and asking them to look at why their behavior is so unpresent and unaccountable? If someone's making their lunch or using the restroom or getting dressed while their camera's on and while we are actually engaged in this workshop, the question to the person who's doing that is, why are you not present to what's actually happening in the workshop and what is your intention for being here? And vice versa, those who are getting bothered by it, why are you allowing someone else to take you out of the game? So we don't look at it as this is our responsibility because, you know, we see a different dashboard. I don't even see everybody. For the record, I see like 3 people. I don't see anyone else. I have like a couple video screens. I do that on purpose so that I'm not distracted. Right? So this is, you know, we haven't taught this work yet. I know we're going to, but the whole idea around architecture and environment, meaning that we set up our environment in such a way that it pulls for our success, is part of this. Now, this is a microenvironment. It's something you're interacting with and through. And you have 100% control and responsibility and accountability to set up the environment that is going to pull for your success in this program. So we're doing this because we're actually encouraging everyone to take ownership over this. Okay? We want all of you to be pulling for each other. And if someone is unaccountable to their interaction and their engagement in this body of work, then we all have accountabilities to address that with them. And it's for their own benefit, because you know what? It's not about us. We're there to help and support them. So if someone's making their lunch, step up and be like, hey, why aren't you present to the conversation? Make your lunch before, you know? Or if for some reason you're late and you just have to make your lunch, turn your camera off, be accountable. So you're not a distraction for everyone else, and understand that in the process of making your lunch, you're probably missing a lot, right? So that's how we're going to handle this. And I know in most programs, it's like, you know, people would comply and be like, oh, absolutely, let's turn the cameras off. But there's no growth happening there for all of the participants. They just get to be passive consumers of the content. This isn't a content-based program. This is a community of people who are committed to transforming who they are in the world. And so we all have equal and shared responsibility and accountability to make sure that happens. You don't get to just be passive consumers. It's like Anurag said on the first week, you don't get to complain because you have choice and because we've empowered you to take action. So there's been a lot of complaints about the video issue, and our encouragement to you is to get it handled. And with that, that is kind of a great segue, for, at least from my perspective, to revisit what is your intention in being part of this community. Is it to passively just consume content, or is it to actually transform your existence? And with that, I want to invite Anurag to open up the dialogue around intention today.
Hey. All right, this is fun. Charlie, this is really great. So, you know, I'm gonna create a little what me and my crew call the softening of reality, like getting out. So we're gonna create something new, that a new precedent for humanity, right? So at the very least, no matter what you think this should look like, you have to let that go, because if this is going to conform to your past standards, whether people should or shut their cameras or dance naked or whatever, then all that's doing is keeping the past in place, keeping this level in place. Does everybody get that? For all you know, the transformation may come from everybody eating lunch naked while we're doing this. We certainly haven't tried it, but you have to deal with the arrogance of going, no, we want to do something brand new and produce a massive leap forward, but it's important to do things the way we know to do them. So this is an experiment. And one thing is, one as a foundation, it's really powerful, is each person being 100% responsible. I'm 100% responsible for my experience, no matter what you do. Then I have a commitment, because I choose to take on being 100% responsible for your experience as well, to the best of my ability. Because just for the possibility of it. And at the same time, I'm actually may produce an experience over there that you don't like, and because I may challenge something, you know, because that's part of my role here and everything like that. Thing is, what are you here for, right? It's like, this is a powerful reveal of intention. So, you know, if you're on a sports field, like a soccer field, and the coach says, "Get your fucking ass down the field," said, "What if you push you down the field?" Then you don't hear that bad. You don't go, I'm not running down the field if you talk to me that way. Why is that? Because you have an intention to win the game, and you know, without fail, you know that where the coach is coming from, what their intention is for you and the team to win. Okay? Yes, we need this thing. It's back. Hang on. So the thing is, when I know you take something personally, offended, irritated, I know your intention is not putting the ball in the net. I know that your intention is not the game. It's something personal. One of the joys of playing a game is you get to let go of yourself. You get to let go of internal dialogue and be for something out there. Then, so it's an interesting thing. We could go, oh yeah, we're a great team of people. We're going to like change the world, but then somebody took their shirt off on camera, so we just called the whole thing off. See, it's interesting. It's interesting to go, well, then what was your intention? You know, some of us, and it's powerful to get very authentic, like, oh yeah, I'm just irritated, waiting to happen, judgmental. I was just, person is a good friend of my sister's, an amazing yoga teacher in London. She takes people on these um, uh, incredible retreats into Nepal, meeting Buddhist monks and stuff. And then I saw this thing, at least for me, and I want to catch my judgment, but it's like I saw it at least as the inconsistency. Like she's like irritated by everything. She's like so annoyed that somebody was dancing on the subway. She's annoyed that the person beside her was putting makeup on, like just like everything. Man, you got to have an intention to be irritated, to have like and so and I was just shocked because of how I know her and the work she does with my sister. I was like, God, it's okay. Everybody get, but the thing is, what is your intention on? What is your intention? If your intention was to listen very carefully, because if you heard every key line, every line in this hour was an instruction of a scavenger hunt to get to a absolutely guaranteed $1 million reward, you would not be distracted by the lunch or the boobs or whatever it is. Do you get what I'm saying? Also, if that was the case, you might not stop to make lunch because of what you wanted, what the conversation was for you. It just, the thing is, you get where to start. Where to start is over here, right? I'm not saying don't say anything. I'm not saying don't like, but it's just it's a really powerful thing. Like imagine if the whole world was operating the way we said. The first thing we have to do is at least prototype, right? Pioneer what we're talking about. We're going to keep being the judgmental, reactivated people that's produced the world that we're at to change. Not going to go well. So it's just like it's something to consider, like what my intention must be now. So people go, well, how do I say something? Do I not say something? A practice, a powerful practice is this one. One of the things I have a commitment to is to never communicate when I have any level of reaction. By the way, this is not really a modern, like a new concept. It's like, if you look at the world of performance, every one of you here on the call, there's something that you're pretty good at, even masterful at least very competent. And if you're working with other people that don't have that level of competency, you notice sometimes they can get all like flustered if something goes off, like, oh my God, what do I do? And you're like, hey, calm. They're making something really wrong. They're reacting, right? And when you're very good at it, you just tell them to calm down and tell you exactly what's happening. Right? So, because that's what's effective, right? When you come with no reaction, and then you look at what to do, and suddenly, sometimes you even tell them, "Oh, got it, relax. There's nothing to do. That'll sort itself out." Or here's what there is to do, but only after you're at a completely peaceful state. So, I'll do this. Get an email, got something really, really, sit with it and read it over and over again, sit with it and take a minute or an hour or a couple of days until there's zero reaction. And then I decide what to say. And sometimes there's not much to say. Or sometimes there is. And then you may say, hey, I have a suggestion about, or I have a committed assessment, a real commitment that I think this would be a better way of doing things. The thing is, then it's sourceful. Then you can trust the intention from which it arises. So again, I'm not saying never say anything. I'm not saying, oh, you got to just put up with everything and have no change, no whatever. But the first thing is to work with yourself and have absolutely no reaction. Get to a space of peace and calm and acceptance of the way it is. And then look, are you really committed thoughtfully to something that would fulfill the intention at a higher level? Does that make sense, guys? Right? So, but everything for me is really is a revealing. Is revealing about the nature and intention. And like I said, one of the things I challenge myself with, if there's anything there, I go to, oh, it's game day, or I call it battle mind. Like if a war started, would this thing be bothering me? And would I have this irritation? Would I have this thing? And I discovered that if like a war started, the game started right now, almost everything I've gone on to would disappear. Right? Some of you have heard this before, but if I had like a cut on my arm, it wouldn't disappear. Like, oh, because it would still be there. Because why? Because it's real. All the other stuff, we're like making it up. And it's all intentional or something. One of the things that we love as human beings is, everybody here, I'm sure, knows we love being right. Love being right. We walk around with this certain level of unease, except Oliver, of course, exactly. But yeah, we walk around with a certain level of unease ourselves, right? Some little or a lot, and we miss that experience of just being completely at peace and grounded. And we love when there's something wrong. We love it. We love it. We love like serious tragedy. We love somebody being a complete monster, because the more obviously wrong it is, the more obviously we can be right about how wrong that is. And it's not the same as complete calm, but it gives us like a hit, of like, all right, I'm right. So like I can be confident about that. I can be on, whatever. It's not real. It's an artificial. It's like sugar. But it's one of the reasons where in the world of addicted to being right, it's where we can find some solid ground. That's why if you look at how can they be possibly arguing for that, it doesn't matter. It's that they feel they can argue. It's something they can argue for, they can own. Sorry, that's us, as I'm talking about. So what would it be like to be judgment free? Which does not mean without action or thought, suggestions, Consider that almost all rules and protocols are a compensation for not being sourceful in the first place, for not teaching to be sourceful. People do something, and then it causes a problem. So slap on a rule versus, hey, we're going to train people so that thing never happens again. And so we have an ever abundant set of rules. And you end up with crazy things like here in Vancouver, one time there was a park which had this kind of slippery and muddy hill. They wanted to build stairs, and they kept going to community because all these processes. This old retired guy in his 70s went and built the stairs. And he got in so much trouble. He almost went to jail. Like they wanted to leave, arrested him and this and that. But he's like, dude, just build a studio. And he built really good stairs, very handy guy. But they were like, they have to tear them, and they had to put in $50,000 stairs because it wasn't. They don't know if it was to code. It wasn't approved. It wasn't, Anyways, but that's a fallout. If somebody did this one, so we need another rule. And somebody this one, right? And they're probably better stairs than the city would build, but it doesn't matter, right? Because they weren't signed up to code, stuff like that. Welcome to our world. So what's more powerful is that people, and if something goes off, we can acknowledge it and find out what's the source of it. And the whole thing politically correct. No, so saying people, here's the rules of how you got to talk versus actually teaching people profound respect. People can still be complete jerks and have no respect, but follow the line so they don't get in trouble. That actually makes it worse. Most of the rules allow us to become less and less and less source. We get to create a less and less sourceful society, a less and less responsible society, because the rules are a compensation. And then if you go to other countries, if you go to India, you cannot explain to a regular person in India how you can get money for not watching where you walk. You trip on somebody's sidewalk, you sue them, like, and then you get $1 million. Like, you get, because you're an idiot, you're not looking where you walk. So the more that we do that, the more people in the society don't have to be responsible for themselves. In fact, they like not being responsible because they get compensated for it. Always. So, so the possibility and intention, a very powerful intention, is okay. I'm going to be just 100% responsible. All right. So, this is a review for some, maybe new for others. Doesn't, regardless of how much of this you've heard before, remember, mastery is a function of repetition, at least until somebody comes up with some other way of it. But I haven't seen anybody master anything without repetition. And so if you want to be living this stuff, you have to practice and master it, hear it over and over again, just like you'd swing the golf club over and over again or play that instrument over and over again, right? So be in it for there. Not be in it, and then hidden intentions at play, for instance, in this type of work. Showing up, being in a workshop or this kind of conversation, because you actually know that there's work you want to do, but you don't really want to do the work or deal with the effort, the confront, or the discomfort. So you sign up and listen to lots of stuff like this, but don't actually do anything, right? And so you kind of appease your conscience and your mind and stuff like that. So what is really the intention? Intention reveals everything. When it is your intention, you will do it. Consider that, right? If it's really your intention. When I had my first business, I was working 7 days a week. I was working 2 or 3 all-nighters a week. I couldn't go 10 minutes from there to my parents' place for dinner. I couldn't go out with my girlfriend, nothing. I had no time. I was so jammed. And then when The Who, my favorite band at the time, were playing their last concert in Toronto, I was gone for 4 days. Doesn't even, like, I used to use examples like when somebody dies and you'll go to their funeral halfway around the world. It doesn't even have to be that significant, right? It just has to be, oh, I fell in love and I might get laid this weekend, so I'm going out of town. Is everybody clear? We're just totally full of shit, right? If you want to make something happen, if it is your intention, you will fulfill it. So if you want to know why your life is the way that it is, every aspect of it is because it is your intention. At least I invite you to consider that. Because if it was sufficiently important for you to change something, you would change it. You're doing this work now, if I do in a company about, you know what, how do you know? It's this simple. You're doing whatever is important to you. You're doing important. And we have people actually see it. Oh yeah, if it was important, I do it. Suddenly it removes all the excuses in the office. It freaks some people out completely because they're excuse meisters and they can't do it because everybody in the environment just knows if you didn't do it, it wasn't important to you. And every time we do this, some people quit and leave because they can't handle being in that environment. They're so uncomfortable having to own everything that happens. So your home is in the state that it's in, your body, your life, your hair, whatever it is. It is that way it is, just because it's completely consistent with your intention. The nature and power of intention is, I would suggest, it's the source of most of all of your physical existence. And, it's and you might say in words, I really want a committed relationship, really want to get married, but really, consciously or unconsciously, your real intention is to make sure you never get hurt again, right? So you will start dating, you'll be awesome, so jazz, and as soon as it starts to get really close and open and vulnerable and a possibility, marriage, you'll sabotage it. Because your real intention at play is to not get hurt again. Helped a company, we multiplied, they were a construction company, they could not grow past a certain point. We went in and changed the intention and the architecture, and then suddenly they doubled. And why? Because the owners had said, I want to grow the company. For years, he couldn't get it to grow. We realized he worked hard to get to a particular place, and his life is now balanced. At one for years, it was stressed. And his intention is not to grow the company, it's to protect his balanced life. So if what was discovered is, oh my God, people are doing this, reading books, taking courses, doing all sorts of things, sometimes being in a workshop or getting inspired by something in a movie or a show, and then they go to try and do that thing, and it just doesn't go anywhere. Why? Because if you don't alter the fundamental intention, that sometimes maybe hidden, then nothing's going to happen. A common intention people have is just get by. And it seems that no matter what happens, they just get by. They double their income, they just get by. It goes down to half, they just get by. They always seem to get by because that's actually their intention. And so when they keep making all these changes, nothing seems, the needle never changes. So the beginning premise of this is to consider that everything, you're always, you're 100% effective in fulfilling your intention. You're just not always clear and straight about what your intention is. I have a personal view that all the different, whatever they are, the default, the hidden intentions that are there, they're all serve one purpose. And that purpose is the avoidance of discomfort at some level. I think as an adult, the majority, 90, 80, 100% of an adult's life is the avoidance of discomfort. And people go, no, look at this discomfort, I'm putting up with it. If we dig down, we'll see that, yeah, but that's just to avoid a bigger discomfort. So yeah, you're putting up with this, but that's to avoid that. So avoid a difficult conversation, avoid, some people just, you'll be shocked, like how many, I've dealt with what we call successful people, but I don't longer call that success. And you'll discover that they are just avoiding the massive discomfort of failure, of being judged as insufficient, and all these different things. But then therefore, no matter how much they quote succeed, still not just completely at peace, because it could still happen. Right? So they're building like a fortress against discomfort, but it's all fear driven. So the suggestion is that you're always succeeding, absolutely, without fail, 100% at the real intention or intentions you have at play. And Chad, I'm just going to stop and just want to, I want to land certain things. So I'm going to see if anybody has anything they want to ask around that or input.
So if you have
that you are without, yeah, that's it.
So I was just going to say, if you have a comment as he pauses there and you want to speak, just let me know and I'll unmute you in the chat. Looks like we're good to go.
And then Chad or James, anything else to just solidify this point from you guys? Okay.
No, yeah. I think we're good.
All right, cool. So, I would, Winnie.
Okay. Winnie, give me 1 sec.
She's got it. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Muted.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just want to make clear. I mean, I'm assuming because I know the intention work for some time, but when you say real intention, you're also referring to possible unconscious intentions. I just wanted to make that clear. Because in the beginning I didn't get that. So
that's right. Yes, conscious or unconscious. That head of that construction company did not realize that what he was actually doing was protecting his balanced life. He was not aware of that. The moment we made him aware of that, he had an opportunity to choose a different intention. That's right. The one of the things about it, to be in this dialogue, you have to be willing to consider that you don't get to be off the hook because it's unconscious. You actually go, okay, I consciously did it at one time, and I'm so used to it, buried it. It doesn't look good to be about that, so I've hidden it from myself and others. But to be here, you go, okay, I know that what's at play is the intentions that I have and that I created. I maybe have forgotten them, but I'm even responsible for that because you intentionally forgot them. Because it was too uncomfortable to be truthful, to walk around saying, hey, my life is perfect. I'm actually completely intending to try and get people's approval, right? To not work too hard, avoid any kind of discomfort. And, if that's what it would look like if we sat around being authentic. It's really important for me that I have an uncriticizable existence. Nobody could say anything bad about me. And hopefully have enough money, not have to deal with anything, and I hope my parents don't ask me to look after them. If you're just being right. So, so because we have an intention always at some level to look good, one of the most prevalent intentions across the board is the pursuit of validation of others and the avoidance of invalidation against others, right? That social phenomena. That's just a massive intention in the background, shaping everything. I'm imagining there's nobody here that's new to that as a concept or idea. One thing that we want to introduce is that maybe it's not anywhere near as hard a mountain to climb as we thought it was. One of the things we want to pioneer for humanity is the simple step. Like, what if it could be like this? Because it can. Just want you to just even forget if you can't see how right now, right? But this is one thing. Just because you don't know how doesn't mean something's not possible. It just means you don't know how. It's like almost all the things we have today, including this video conference. We did not know how at one time. This was not possible, and here we are.
Anurag, I have a few questions, but I want you to finish your thought and then let me know when you want to answer a couple more questions.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So, one of the things is in the world of like the softening the reality. I'm requesting everybody to be open to the idea of giving up your entire history of the work you've done in this area, and therefore the reality that you built about how hard it is and how much work it takes and how dramatic it is and what heroes we are for the transformation and stuff. Because you know what? Doesn't take anything. It's just a teeny little correction. Okay.
We have two questions. First is from Eric. Eric, you're unmuted.
Thank you. I guess I may be stepping ahead of myself. After conversation, okay, I get that I am 100% effective in fulfilling my intention.
Yep.
How do I practice being aware of my real intention?
Okay.
In other words, I have a friend.
Let me just answer that question. One of the things I'm going to show people, sometimes I am going to interrupt, but in very intentionally versus something like that, because I'm going to show you how to have a way more spare time in your life. And that is by talking a lot less. Because we don't realize in our intentions how much of our speaking is fulfilling an intention of looking good or validation or speaking to some concern. And everybody knows that mostly people are speaking at them more than necessary. And we just politely wait. And of course, therefore, we're doing it too. So I actually have the answer to your question. Now, you were about to serve also be qualified and clarified and stuff like that, but you don't know if I needed that clarification. So if you just asked a question, and then I could say, hey, actually, give me an example. What do you mean? Like, so guys, start with the least. Start with the least. So Eric, I'm going to repeat this at the end, but here's the thing I'm going to ask people. Here's some of the exercises. One of them is a journaling exercise. Have an alarm that goes off at a certain regularity, 30 minutes, 60 minutes every time, and then stop in that moment and look, what intentions am I coming from right now? And you'll actually, if you keep doing it enough, you'll actually start to see deeper and deeper ones. The first ones you write down, the ones you're immediately conscious to, but when you keep doing it, you'll see other ones underneath. So that's one. Another exercise is where you actually make up an intention. Don't worry, I'm going to do some work shortly about really you're getting your core, your sourceful intention, your calling, your purpose. And it takes some work to get that. Practicing though, creating versus consuming, practicing, Eric, is to just take on, I'm going to play. And I'm going to just make up an intention and I'm going to practice from that one today. I'm going to make up this one for this next 3 hours. Hey, I'm going to make an intention for the next meeting I have, and write it down and have it in front of me, because of course I'll forget if I'm in a dialogue. So one another practice, Eric, is to actually create an intention. Anyone, have fun, little ones, big ones, doesn't be profound. You get that? They both build the muscle of coming from a created intention versus living unconsciously. And as you do that, you start to see your unconsciousness in contrast, and it also starts to reveal your hidden ones, because you create one, therefore you step out of your hidden ones and therefore can look back and see them. Okay. Another exercise, which some of my crew has already started, is the do what you know you should be doing but aren't doing program. Right? So if you make a list, this has got lots of both practical and ontological value. You make a list of all the things that you know you should be doing but aren't doing. Now, if you just undid that list and started to work through it, your life will like really start to open up and flourish. But there's a really other powerful value. When you see the list of what you know you should be doing but aren't doing, this is your very powerful area. It's one of the biggest areas of reveal, which is, okay, I know I should be doing this, right thing to do, but then why am I not? It's one of the place where your hidden intention is closest to the surface. You get what I'm saying? Because you know you should be doing it and you're not. So therefore, right behind you're not doing it has to be your unconscious or hidden intention. And the question to ask yourself is this, or one question, you got to inquire. What's more important? I say this is important. I know I should be doing it. I'm not. And people are like, I'm resisting. I'm this. I'm that. I can't do it. Something's stopping me. No. There is just something more important than that to you. And when you ask yourself, well, what's more important? I'm not in the moment of doing this. What becomes more important? Or did I go and do something else? And underneath that, you'll start to see, because you're always doing what's important to you. You'll begin to see your pattern of intentions. Clear? And yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, we have another question. A Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. What's your first name?
Hi. Alexandria.
Alexandria, okay. We can hear you.
I'm just wondering with the intentions, a lot with hidden or whatever, a lot of times in my personal inquiry, things come up that as I go, okay, what is my soul intention here? Why am I actually here breathing? And sometimes things come up that are, like beyond, definitely beyond the Newtonian world. And so when you're talking about intention, are you also talking about, possible karmic, possible cosmic kind of things, not to use them as hiding for responsibility, but also to be able to integrate them right here, right now?
All right, good. Yes, I include all of that. And one of the things is that you're going to see this a little bit more through these months from me, is that I'm going to make an invitation to remove all of that terminology, as that terminology causes like they're separate things. See, it's like I'm starting to have an observation, and I work with language and this and that, and I work at it. I'm actually, one of my mantras is I'm wrong about everything, and I just discovered how massively wrong I am about the language and this and how it accesses all these distinctions. And I go, damn, with language, we just cut everything up into tiny pieces and separate them, and the words don't even marginally grasp what they're about. Not saying language isn't useful, but it's an interesting phenomenon to say, hey, it's the top of the game to say we work about mind, body, and soul because it's all connected. And well, if it's all one, why are you separating them into three things? When I go to the Colombian Sierra or the Sham, I want to go to the Ayurvedic Center, they don't say, hey, they work on all of it, but they don't say there's these three things they're working on. They're just working on you. And it's all of that. Do you get what I'm saying? So we forget that Newton and this and all of that, we made all that up. That doesn't mean it's how it is. And that's like saying leaves and small branches. when the whole tree is there and we're just looking at leaves. It doesn't mean that there aren't leaves and small branches. It doesn't mean there isn't some, action and reaction, right? But there's also the rest of the tree, and it's not separate just because we're only looking at that part, right? So this is going to, if we're going to take this to a new space, this is going to require you to let go of all the current ways that you look at things. So if I were using this languaging, my answer to your question is actually, this is designed to look at all of those spaces, the ones that we're aware of, and there's an entire world that we're not that aware of, but actually includes it all as simply one thing. That's my view of it anyways, okay? All right, cool. So we forget, everybody, that we just made everything up, right? And then we live like it's true, while every day what we believe without fail keeps being proven wrong. So I have a view that even nothing we're saying here is like true. It's just our current best way of looking at things. And we have an intention that by the end of the year, we've come up with other new ways and methodologies and approaches and dialogues that we didn't even think of right now, but that advance the intention. For something for humanity and the planet, for harmony, for something that which is possible. So intention. So now, this actually now segues actually though your question, which is after discovering that, oh my God, behind everything that a human being was doing was an intention. That's what, and then if we could give them so many different things. Over here did something that completely altered this family's life, or completely multiplied this business. Did them over here and nothing happened. The same process. Why? Oh, because if you don't actually have an intention to grow or to transform, if you don't, then the process doesn't matter. So then became very interested. What intention? If intention gives everything, you'd want to be really interested in, well, how do I actually work with intention to create the most amazing life? So it came down to this. It came down to that it occurs from the work that we've done, that there is an intention that, first of all, that the only kind of intention that we found so far that's 100% reliable for leaving you fulfilled is one that is in service of others. Every time you make a difference in another person's life, I've been with people like everything from really hard ass gangsters and ex-cons to people in charities. It doesn't matter what at the time they experienced making a difference with others, helping like that, they feel fulfilled. Their heart is open, right? So we go, oh, that's interesting. So I believe now that the human biology of human being is that we're wired to want fulfillment. The access to fulfillment is being of service. And if everything just worked inside of that, we're all good. So, and this is about just returning to source. And even that thing about languaging, my view about language now is that almost all of our language is a compensation from having gone out of alignment in the first place. And if we actually just align, we don't need almost all of the stuff. The word organic only came from us leaving organic, just normal stuff. There's no organic in the jungles, really, as opposed to, right? It's like that. We have, we're going to do integration. Well, there's only integration because we fractured. Like everything, almost all terminology. And then we feel really good about working on being way out of alignment, right? So we're going to invite you in this work to very simply start being aligned, and you'll start to see a lot of the stuff you were working on simply no longer exist. Coming from a place versus trying to get somewhere. To do this work, you have to let go of everything you were trained in, which is, where am I getting to? How do I navigate towards this point? Instead, this is about navigating, where am I coming from? What intention is giving me being? I'm going to fulfill this very sourceful intention that is who I am, and we'll see where it takes me. So going back to your question, this is my view of it. When you get profoundly connected to that which is all I believe, I think, I see, it's already there, this is who you are, fulfilling this intention in the world, it's so far beyond, the physical, the physics of what's in front of it. Like that, it's the energetic existence of your being that shows up everywhere. And what it seems to be is that, yes, being of service, making a difference. And it seems that everybody has their unique flavor. Seems to be that there's just a home resonant frequency with each of us where we are. And when this is happening in the world, my calling is that people experience source, that they're at the source of things. And all of this dialogue is happening is because of that. It's just who I am. It's a very interesting thing that happens when you get your calling and you actually start living from it, like really living from it. So much switches. Here's an example. So when you're like really sick, you got, and then you want to, or you're tired, whatever, and then go, oh, I need to rest. I can't work. Like work is one of the first things you take off the table, like that. If I could actually have like a sourceful dialogue, that actually relieves more pain and suffering than any kind of medication or anything like that. Like because it's my calling, and when I'm in it, I feel better. And I want you to know, I believe we haven't even scratched the surface of how we could live. But the thing about it is, if we change content and structure without intention, then nothing much going to happen. You can get down to intention. We live in a world. I keep meeting people who want me to back their technology because it's groundbreaking. You'll give free energy to people, this and that. And like, I don't think it's going to make any difference. If you told me 20 years ago, I mean, if you told me that 2/3 of humanity would have most of human knowledge in their hands, right, like this, I would have said, that is incredible. That will change the world. Like, that'll change everything. It hasn't. I was like, how can we keep coming up with stuff? And I realized, if you have an intention to screw people over, that's what you use the new technology for. If you have an intention to love and support people, that's what you'll use the new technology for. The technology is not going to change anything. It's the nature of being a human being. Yep. Does that make sense? So this work here, me with Chad, James's insight into the neuroplasticity, that actually giving us an access to that, instead of us thinking we're stuck the way we are, and hopefully we can change something out there in a car design, right? That'll change everything. So, the question that I want to know is, what is it? What is it? What intention, when fulfilled with another human being, would make your heart sing the most? What would make you the most joyful, the most happiest in this very particular area, right? The easiest way to narrow it down is to go, there's an experience, there's something that when it shows up, arises in another person. You see people joyful, or you see people totally experience being loved. When I see people experience like being at the source of something, there's something that when that happens over there, you're like, shoot me now. And if you could have your life be about that behind you, there's just a trail of people everywhere you've gone. What happens is people experience joy, right? And so there's something that's unique to you. You can actually answer that question. You could answer the question like, hey, listen, if I have kids and if I left the earth tomorrow, I could just leave them with this, what would that be? You could answer the question, what's a time in your life where you were really moved? Like really, like moved, like you were just so moved. And what was going on? What was the experience you were having? And there's whatever that was, why that stands out for you. What stands out for you? Because it was so resonant to you. It like impacted you. And it stands out for you. Why? Because it was most attuned to who you are and what you want to bring to the world. So there's a couple of people here who've done this work. I'm going to ask just to pop off and just share your calling or your current cut at it. And then I'm going to ask some people who haven't done the work that I can do the work with to begin to walk through it. So who here has done the work, has got calling or a good cut at it, can just share it? Yeah, Oliver? Oh,
Okay,
hang on,
Oliver.
got to unmute. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People experiencing the impossible.
Cool. Excellent. Very good. Somebody else? Yes, Madeline? Unmute.
There we go.
Yes, people being loved.
Okay. Excellent. Very good. Anya?
It's people being fully alive.
All right. So,
Oh, hold on, Anurag. You muted for some reason. Hold on. Where'd you go?
I got it.
Okay.
Good. All right. Petra. I guess we'll let Petra share too. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Go.
People experiencing freedom and adventure.
All right. Great. So the words are not important. It's I can see with each one of these people, they shift into this energetic space. So engaging. It's like just who they are. There's that smile, that energy. It's like if that's all your life was about, you could ask for no more. If you actually could walk around delivering that to people. Freedom and adventure. I'm the freedom and adventure princess. Right, yeah. Right. Oh yeah, maybe we should do that. We should get your little magic wand and then you can say, ding, you have been given freedom and adventure. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to walk around freely and have adventures. Haha. So the thing is, there is this like energetic space and alignment. And then you have an opportunity to create an aligned life. Aligned with what? Well, it's always been aligned with an intention. Aligned with the intention of that I shall have people approve of me. You have succeeded at that one, right? Or whatever, whichever one's been on. And that's come from places of pain and past. And now you can shed that and get back to yourself. And I'm going to say that when you start to come from a place and be really, really rigorous with it, you literally will see so many of the things that you're working on developing yourself and transforming will literally no longer exist. And it takes something. I'm not going to pretend. It takes something. And it's less a matter of difficulty than it is of habit and some effort. Okay, it's not a complexity. It's a habit, effort, and community. See, the weakness is not in how difficult or complex it is. The weakness is that our current community has no interest in this at all. So it has no life. It has no existence. Part of this is understanding the whole world of the failure of, against what's possible with personal development and self-growth and self-help is that it's personal. But our existence is community. And I'm all about only the generation of community, the environment, the architecture that allows us to fulfill who we are. So this is not for yourself. This is a step involved for us to design the community, the football, the soccer team, but you need the whole team and you need to condition yourself and learn your skills, but for the purpose of, right? The whole, not for yourself. All right, so who's somebody that has not done this work that would like to take a first step?
Now's the chance, everyone. People were asking, how do we figure out our default intention? How do we know where to start from? How do we know how to alter things for our life? This is the beginning of 2019, the being experiment. If we don't start here, there's no place to go from. Okay, Kelly, I'm going to unmute Kelly. Okay, Kelly, we can hear you.
Hi. Aloha.
Hey, Kelly.
Aloha.
Hi, Anurag.
Hey there.
Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Kelly, so would you like to work on your calling?
Yes.
All right, good. As a qualifier, I'm going to say this, everybody. I discovered from probably now the last 5 or 6 years of work that it's not critical to get your default intentions. People get addicted to knowledge and they turn it into their new excuse, their new more enlightened reason for why they're not doing what they should be doing. What I discovered is that, and when I even had people get it, nothing happened. What was it? The active ingredient is getting your calling, getting an intention to come from that's sourceful. And if you get that and literally start living from it every moment, working towards that, the other stuff disappears. It displaces all your defaults. Getting all your defaults and not doing the other stuff produces nothing. So, and it can have some use. It can be interesting and fascinating, explain your entire life, but having an explanation with no change doesn't, just saying, guys, overall, this is the valuable part. And I want you to get, you don't need the other part if you just true up. So, Kelly, so the two style of question, one is like, what would you love with your whole heart to leave people? And the other question is, well, more experiential, going back to when was a time that you were, a moment, an incident where you were really profoundly moved? Which one would you like to, which one seems to easier for you to engage with?
I like the profoundly moved one.
Right, good. So just go back, find a time last week or 12 years ago or whatever, just a time where you were just really, really deeply and profoundly moved, and just tell me about the incident.
I was deeply involved in a deep conversation with someone, and they were doing harm to themselves, and usually I'm a gentle, kind person, but I was just very straight with them, laid it out the way it was, and it could tell it was a hard truth, but it was a truth, but it was because what I saw for them. And I didn't hear from them again for years until later. Someone else came up to me and thanked me for saying what I said to that person. And then that person followed and came with them and said, you know, you saved my life. The woman that thanked me, they were now engaged, and she thanked me for having this, because this person is now alive and living from their truth, that it made such a difference for both of them. That's an extreme example, but other times people
hang on. Let's just work with that. That's fine. It's great. Well, you can feel that. I can feel it's present for you right now. You're feeling it, right? Yeah. So that's cool. Because what I want the experience, not the knowledge, right? I want like that. And this is because guys, we're in our heads. This is to move us to our hearts from our heads. And just to qualify everybody, my view of things is that everything that's in existence serves a purpose. We just don't often know what the purpose is. And we lived in a very head-driven world, teaching people performance and don't let your emotions get in the way. Then I hit a limit. I went to this other world, and it was all about heart. And they said, don't let your evil mind take over. Blah, blah, blah. And I realized they all here for a purpose. What I've learned so far is start with the heart, get that, that experience, what you're feeling, right? And then use the head to fulfill what the heart desires. And then they're in a nice balance. Why I'm saying this, everybody, is because the predisposition, mostly when you first do this work, is to have your head answer the question. I want people to get this and that, but it's almost all from our past, and it's a bunch of words. So what we want to do is the experience, one that you can't even necessarily describe. I'm going to have you come up with some words, but they're pointers to it, and knowing full well that what it is much bigger than the words that you're using. Your words just take you back, right? So, and I'm I'm doing this a little slower just so I can make some points for everybody, right? To the word. So now, Kelly, back to you, right? So there you are. You're now in this experience. What about it? What was the experience, or what was so moving about that?
That person saw their value and their truth, and they transformed. They shifted shifted to something that was true for them, and let them shine.
Okay. And what was the experience?
The transformation toward into truth.
Okay, good. See, now we're back in your head. This is the tricky part about this, my friends. This is the tricky part. We're so bad. Like, but go back to that event. See, like, I was actually, I could feel the energy. I was actually moved and impacted even when you weren't speaking, because I could feel the energy there. And now this is the thing, guys, about like when an athlete, when they have this incredible move and you ask them to stop and think about it, suddenly they can't. And they're in their head and they can't do it.
Thank you so
I
much.
want you in that, back in that experience. What's the feeling? Just tell me the feeling that you had, or you think that they were having. What's the feeling that was there? What's the experience?
Just the pure joy of discovery, like the pure joy of discovery.
Yeah. Is it all right if you just have pure joy, even if you're not discovering?
Actually, it has to do with like, it has to do with the shift, like oh, that part, the
Oh, hang on. The let's just stay there for a second. Right? See, you have the most vibrant energy when you do the Now watch us want to put our minds to no, but it's the that comes from this and that. No, we're not talking about the pathway. We're talking about the outcome. If it's or if it's joy, it's not. Well, you can only have joy of discovery, but you're not allowed joy of love or this, or joy of dance, or joy of, you know what I'm saying? That's absurd. Because the part, guys, almost always the first things you're going to say are pathways that your mind has made, because that's where your mind saw or experienced the ultimate thing. But what you want is that thing. It's the because if you actually had people do this and get their truth and that, and they didn't have the joy and the it wouldn't be that juicy. I mean, I got my FDF on my truth. You know, it's not about that, but that was one reliable path that you experienced, right? But it's when that just like when you said that, that's what I'm saying. It's what is it when you see this come alive? When you see that come alive, when you see that, whatever it is, you're like, yes, right? That's the yes. Now, the other part was the path. Now, if we produce that from one particular path, or saw it get produced from that path, we start to get attached to that path. And then our lives get very narrow, right? So but what you want to do, let's just say as a working thing. Now, one of the things, Kelly, is that almost always in the first dialogue, people get like their first cut. They get connected to the calling. They get kind of the feel of it, and it refines and deepens over the next couple of weeks. Okay. But now that you've opened that kind of window, you start to see, this. Oh no, maybe it's this, right? But the thing is almost always it's just like who you were being, whatever that was when you went, you can call it whatever. But you could say my calling is people experience. What it doesn't have to have. I had a guy who just couldn't get it. He kept saying juicy living and this and that. One day he called me and he was just, I couldn't understand him. I said, Mark, you got to slow down, because he just kept saying this. I found it. It's helly. It's what the hell are you talking about? He says his calling is people experience heli, and which is that when he goes heli skiing and he on a sunny day and gets out of the chopper and lands in that powder, he can't describe the word experience, but he's just that thing, it's heli for him. So when that word creates it, like for Petra, when it's freedom and adventure, like it's a world, right? It's not the word, it's the world. It could be a letter, it could be it could be, the artist formerly known as Prince. It's whatever it is, right? It could be simple. It does not matter what it is. It does not matter if anybody understands it. What matters is that it connects you to the experience. Your vibrational field, everything shifts in that moment. I love that thing that somebody posted about how much repetition of something before something shifts. But if there's play involved, it takes less. The energetic state in which the work is being done changes everything. James, I wanted to talk to you, and I'll just put a marker. I've been doing this experiment of taking people on a hike, but like a tense hike, like up the Chief and stuff like we would do a dialogue that has some, weight to it, and then start the hike. And it's some of it at a low enough pace that we could have a little more dialogue, and some of it that at a pace just too much. But like the intensity of that activity actually dropped the stuff in way deeper than when I'm just sitting in a room. Like, there's something about dropping it in, the energetic, having to give it everything, like all of that, and it just translated over. And so, Kelly, that's the stuff. And what was being asked earlier about, is it this? No, it's mind, body, soul. It's everything, right? This, when you felt it, Kelly, you felt it from the inside out, like from the very core of your being, right? Now, here's my question. Whatever it was, the joy, when you see that happen as the outcome of all of that work, right? When you see that, you're just so fulfilled, right? Now, one of the tests of the calling is that if you saw people getting that experience over there, you just happened to walk by it or something, or you went in a workshop and they were getting it, and even if you had nothing to do with it, you would still be lit up because it's happening, right? See, that's your resonant frequency. That's your calling. Because you could, depending on which school of thought you're on, you're lit up just because it is you. It is who you are. I could even say that it is who you are. You even had a hand in the causality of it as your vibrational field. Whether I don't care. But the thing is, it existing fulfills you. Mm-hmm. That is not a doing phenomena. That's a state of existence of being. So when you come from there, so now if you were to take on living your calling, you would have an intention to cause that. Even when you buy water from the counter at the corner store, can I cause, over there, can I cause that aliveness? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And just looking at the time here. Okay, good. So, and then the way to take it on, Kelly, is to go, I haven't been conscious about this intention, and it's happening, but there's, so you want to take on practicing it. I'm going to do things. If you tend to take on play the guitar, you will do things to practice. You will do things to learn. You won't just go, okay, now it should be there. Everybody, this is about practicing. And then you go, wow, I'm actually not very good at it against how I could be, like bringing it everywhere. No, I have these little small spaces. So you have to take it on, like, it's a game I love to play. I love to play basketball. I'm not very good at it. I love to snowboard. I love to play guitar, but I'm not very good at it. So every time you do it, you get better at it. You have to have room. You have to be willing to have the discomfort of a new incompetency, right? The discomfort of a new incompetency. Mm-hmm. Then this is a cool thing that I did not realize. It was an interesting side effect. As I was working with some people who are like, or their relationship to aging shifted. Because as you get better and better, like you love playing the game. You love playing basketball. Sometimes you lose. I love playing a game of people experiencing source. I don't always succeed. You won't always succeed, but you get better at the game. But you don't mind, because as long as you're playing the game with your whole heart, it's still fine if you don't succeed. You have to be okay to lose, but then you get better at it. Here's what's really cool. When you do it for enough months and you keep getting better at it, you actually start to see you're getting your joy and fulfillment increasing, and you say, holy shit, I don't have to worry about the future, because if I keep doing this forever, my life will forever get more joyful and fulfilling as you master it more. All of that's up to you, but it is a completely possible state of existence. And one of the most critical keys of all of this, guy, is that, as far as I can tell, to have the most amazing, my life is more amazing and outrageous and fulfilling than it's ever been. And it's, so far as I can tell, it's because I literally don't care. I have now zero effort into having my life be amazing or fulfilling or joyful. Mm-hmm. I just want to fulfilling my purpose, and that's a side effect. Mm-hmm. I spent a decade helping people achieve that experience, or trying to, after I had them achieve results like money, but then that didn't do it. Then after pursuing happiness, but then what I found is that when you're totally in the game, fulfilling your purpose, totally in the game, trying to put the ball in the net, you're not chasing feeling happy or not. You're fulfilling the purpose. And then the side effect is, now when you're playing the game fully, listen up, you have room for all the experiences. When you play the game, you can lose and feel like this. You can be exhilarated. You can be out of breath. You don't try to chase or avoid an experience. You have room for all the experiences. Okay? And so, and then your entire humanity is alive. So the intention here is not for you to be happy or joyful, guys are fulfilled or this or that. Intention is not about you. Intention is about have you be the best at your position on the team of humanity to fulfill your purpose. And I will offer you that as a side effect, you will have more of those things that you're chasing than you ever even imagined. But don't do it for that purpose. Let all of that go. Be free of that addiction and pursuit, and just be true to yourself. The next step, Kelly's go, okay, how do I arrange my life to practice this, to get better at it? What am I going to do to see, what I know some ways to get this across to people, but given this is my life, I'm going to learn lots of other ways. I'm going to see, what would be that in my mind? What would make me go, oh, when I walked in my house? Do I need to live somewhere else? But really.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I love it.
yeah, what a great game for the rest of your life, right?
Yes.
Now, if your calling is that people experience joy, oh, you also are people.
Mm-hmm.
So you deliver it to yourself and you share it with others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Is it okay if I give you some feedback?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've seen through Ventino's seminars your description of the calling, and I've tried to do it myself. But this work with you is like my mind wouldn't accept that something like oh is good enough. But watching you reflect back, like oh, like that's like my favorite thing now.
Well, when you did it, I felt like, wow, that's so cool. Like, but that's the thing. Like, I'm watching at the impact, not the words, and it's like it's so fun. That's why it's so fun watching 2- and 3-year-olds play. You know, I tell CEOs at one of their assignments they have to spend at least some time once a week with a 2- to 5-year-old. You know what? So they can get they can just get like that. That's the juice. I get that, and thank you. And it's for everybody. So you have to watch your intellect, right? We want to harness it, but only to serve. Oh, see, look how much life it brings you. What else do we want? The only thing that's going to bring you more life now is giving it to others. That's the only thing that's going to give you more life than having yourself, giving it away.
And I love that, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. So we have about 15 minutes left. I think maybe questions. I'm gonna. So I will put them up in the Facebook page. But again, I already gave as Eric asked the question, I gave the practices that I was going to give at the end, right? And around the world of intention, if it is your intention, to apply this work, it is going to show up in physical reality. It is going to show up. You want to talk to each other. You want to put on the Facebook page. Here's the practice. Here's what I did today. Here's what I got out of it. I have a question. Anybody dealing with this? I'm struggling with this. This is alive in the community. And if you really want to take to Sean, you would be accountable. You would feel a desire and accountability to make sure everybody else is really getting this and benefiting. That's what this work really is. At that point, it will become a no-brainer. It will become an automatic phenomenon for you. You know what gives me joy and power is bringing this to you and doing whatever I can to actually have you get it and live it. So fun not having my attention on myself. It's such a pain in the ass having attention on myself. It's really irritating. But I said, okay, here's when we try this practice of journaling, right? What it would look like is like, oh, this, post, like literally posting. So I'm doing it. I want to share it. I journaled today. Here's what I shot. Oh, I took on this practice. of creating an intention and working from it. I did this. This is what happened. I did this. Here's what failed. Here's what I learned from that. Oh, I'd love anybody's ideas. And then people can post a bunch of ideas and like, okay, I keep failing to keep an intention. Like, is anybody doing it successfully? Created one, I could see, I got the list of things I'm doing. I'm having trouble getting to what's more important. Or here's what I saw that's more important. Wow, like that. This to be dynamic, active, and alive. And not just for yourself. As it rolls, I will add some new practices. I've got some more, I don't know, and then so people can custom design it a little for themselves, some things like that. But I'm going to start with those ones start with awareness and some engagement. And then as it unfolds and I see what people are dealing with, I will start to create more. It will multiply in its impact if you're committed to this alive as a community. You know what? That's even an old way of saying it. That's like putting a carrot in front of you. Screw that. Just do it because that's what this is about. Get your off your ass and be what this is. This otherwise, it's like trying to. You say you're on a soccer team, but you're only playing on the sidelines by yourself. That's not what this is. Just get that's not what this is. This is not the old thing. We have to create something. Punching Harmony. This is one of the is people doing the work as a community. You get that? That's what this is. And it's totally fine if you don't want to do that, but this is just the wrong place.
So Anurag, one thing that I was thinking about when you were working with Kelly is two things. One is we have to give up our pictures about what our life is supposed to look like when we're actually coming from that intention and living our purpose, because those pictures and that fixed definition will restrict the way that we live it out. And we want it to be where we're coming from, not where we're going to. So that's something that I think everyone needs to be really careful about is, and I think it's a function of our culture. Our culture has really trained us to set goals and set this thing, this destination that's out there. And so then that becomes the fixation point. And we're no longer looking at where we're coming from. We're only focused on the goal and where we're going to. Don't make the intention or the purpose a goal as though you're seeking to achieve it. It has to be generated from within in terms of where you're coming from, and let life reorganize itself. Our lives may look totally different when we're actually coming from source and being on purpose than we could ever have imagined it. And so we have to create space for our life to take on the life that it's going to take and what it's going to look like when we're coming from that place, as opposed to the reverse. People are always chasing, whether it's money or stuff or fame or whatever, because they're actually trying to create a life that looks a certain way. And then they have no room for life to organically show up. They keep shutting the door. They keep blocking it and not letting it actually emerge, when actually it could be the thing that fulfills them the most. So that's one thing that I was thinking of when you were speaking.
Right. Yes, so I've got to work with Chad, you and James on the language. We've talked about the name, but I mean, it's so insufficient, and I want to come up with it, but just to get that this is not anything you've done before, though it's got some similarities. So the mind wants to pull back. You want to hear it from the old places, and so. At the very least, this is not personal development. You could say it's community development and not personal, but it's more than that too. But at least as a point, maybe if I could jar mind that to house this. Oh, if this is community development, then am I engaged in the community? Like just because otherwise, it's not this.
Right.
So and guys, I understand some of the the challenge of the nature of the shift. We're so used to thinking one way, bringing that, and still this is what it's about. It's the effort. We're here to pioneer something. The first car, the first airplane, there's a lot of effort with a lot of outcome until it gets refined down, and then suddenly it pops, right? So we are here as a group committed to staying with it until it pops, so the thing flies. And engagement from sharing, engagement for even asking, like no shyness, right? Like because there's something at stake here. And actually, it said that. So there's one thing said from the beginning conversation. Just want to add one thing. This is part of the thing I'm taking on about moving, stepping over nothing, and like where I can just even 1% of complacency. I forgot one point because it's important to me about the maturity of the team around this. That thing about the videos on and off and people doing so. The predisposition is that when you hear that, then everybody starts to be good. That's not a bad thing at all. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be paying attention. But what's important to me, more important to me, this is creating a community of people. There are a point when you're so connected that you never have a question. That you just never have a question. And I want you to know it's important. We're not creating rules. We're creating honor and intention. And I want you to know this. Like there are some people, and I'm like one of them. I've had to learn about this. Like I would get that sometimes how I really concentrate on something is like also looking at something else, right? Sometimes like my mind moves in many different spaces, and I really learned that there's very different kinds of people. And a really brilliant thing somebody once said is average for everybody means perfect for nobody, right? So listen, it's about honor. I want us to be so clear that, listen, I don't want somebody who actually can listen like perfectly and actually helps if they're making lunch or doing this or something like that. Because there are a few, not a lot, but there are, right? And then things like that. And sometimes I actually do that. I have to train people of how to know to be around me because sometimes I actually read a book and play Angry Birds and have a dialogue, right? And stuff like that. And it actually works for the right thing. But you can trust that when I'm doing it, it's where I'm coming, but that people trust me. The thing is, I want to be able to just trust you, right? The whole thing about do the right thing every moment, if you're fully focused or not. And I want to trust it. If you're doing something, I know you're fully focused or whatever that is. I don't want to turn it into a thing, even if it's not a rule, that there's a community expectation. Now you feel awkward not to do what's natural to you. Is that clear? Just have so much fucking honor that there's no question and we never question. That's what it's like. At the high state of tribe, of team, and performance, you just don't have a question. You can make a blind pass. That's part of what this is. Creating a community that just elevates us each to our best. But it's all about honor. It's not about rules. Is that clear? That's it. James, is there anything that you got on any?
No, I'm good. This is amazing, Anurag.
Cool. Well, I'm really excited, guys. We're really looking. Chad and James and I were talking about. This should be not the most important conversation. This should be the most important things to do every day differently. Like the most important practices. I want to get like so away from come and listen and workshop. Like this is here's what I am absolutely committing to do with myself and others program, like whatever, let's put it right out in front and stuff like that. I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about like digging in for the whole month of that in the world of intention and each thing. And like us, I would invite everybody, all of us to go, it is not difficult. It is actually, I haven't yet, but we're going to embed this one thing in and then go to the next thing and embed it in. And, the opportunity to, you could be different human beings by the end of the year. And I would even go as to say is to scrape off the barnacles and be way more ourselves by the end of the year. However you want to call it, which would be very different, but like whatever, but the way that it works for you, I'm making an invitation to be prototype human beings by the end of the year that is so compelling that everybody else wants to know what the hell did you do? Right? I need to know who your hairdresser is because that's looking good on you, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, and just to add to that, again, we're all 100% responsible for that showing up in our life and for that occurring, and to each other to ensure that it occurs in others as part of the community, as part of this group. So the engagement through the Facebook group isn't just a nice to have. We're actually going to, a lot of you have brought some great ideas forward over the last week in terms of things that you feel would be helpful or that you may even need to help advance that work in your life. There's been some suggestions of setting up small groups within the community so that you guys can get to know each other a little bit more and do some work offline. So I'm looking into creating that. I think that's a great idea. That's one of many. So we are here to support the whole community, to create the context so that at the end of the year, and Anurag, I love the way you just said that, not to become a different human being, but the most authentic you that you can actually be. Because truth be told, we're all wearing masks, and we've been taught how to wear those masks, and we've become people who aren't authentically who we actually are. I mean, we talked about children, and you see how children aren't really caring about how they're being or who they're being in the context, because they're authentically just being themselves. They're just totally expressing from a pure, authentic place. They're not trying to impress anyone or to look good or to attain some status. And they have that pure joy and happiness and aliveness. And that is what we hope that all of you will take on and join us in, so that each of us can be that, be that authentic self of who we really are here to be, and be aligned and coming from that place. That would transform the world. So anything left, Anurag, before we end for the week?
Yeah, I just one other thing. I just realized this as I did that work with, Kelly, I'll offer one other possible exercise other than 3 that I gave, because of what you just, and this is for everybody, actually, like that. So one of the first exercises that we have people do is what we call the ICE, or the IEC. There's 3 letters, I, E, and C. Is that you make a list. Here's my calling, and people experience, including myself. Oh, right. What if I look around my life? What is inconsistent with that? The I stands for inconsistent. You list. Oh, some of my physical space, my relationship with my mother, my irritation. You start to list what's inconsistent, and that starts to give you physical things to do to start to create your life. Get rid of the inconsistencies with that. Then the E stands for elevate. Oh, I think the work that I do here is consistent with that, but now I see that I could elevate it. I could make it more impactful. It's not inconsistent, but it could be elevated. And C, what else? What are new things that I could create? Oh, I think I'm going to take a program that teaches me more of this, or I think I might move, or I might, whatever it is, or I'm going to put what are new things that I could create that would help me fulfill that with others. So very powerful exercise. Get a big paper up, put it on your wall, I, E, and C. Here's on the top. Oh, big smile. Then what's inconsistent with that? What can I elevate? What can I create? And then start to move into that. So that's also, that is to begin to create an aligned life. Here's what it is. And Kelly, everybody, I know we're a couple minutes over. Take your time. A pitfall from many of these workshops is, I need to now transform everything this week. I'm inviting you to take 1 year to 2 years to redesign your life, to be completely consistent with the fulfillment of who you are. The architecture, the environment, we'll talk about it, right? It's fine. If you spend 4 years, getting a degree in something to use for your life, and you spend, if you were building your dream house, you would spend a year, you spend time looking, designing it, because you want to live in it. You want it to be just right? And you would relax because you want to do it well. Well, you're designing the life you're going to live in for the rest of your life, not just when you're at home. So relax, be peaceful. You've been that list. Don't get overwhelmed with how much is inconsistent. Just imagine, I have an 18-month plan to go from 2% of my life to 98% of my life being given by this. I'm going to do this. I have failures. I'm in a community that's going to support me. I'm going to develop this being for my life, just like I'm going to develop being an engineer or whatever, right? So relax, take your time, get the work out in front of you. Okay?
Yeah.
Just that one. Add that.
Okay, great. And I'll just close by adding one little thing. All of us, I know, have been inviting people from our families or our friend communities or social groups. And we have just under 100 people registered in the Facebook group. We have about a quarter of those people showing up right now. I would suggest that when we make invitations to people like that, it's because we believe that they are important enough in our life, and we care about them enough that we would like to see them engage in this work so that they could experience the alignment that we're all going to experience. And this goes to the architecture and the environment of our own lives. As I said a week or two ago, we become like the 5 people we hang out the most. I mean, this is just a statistical fact that's been measured over time. Our environment pulls for who we become. And so I would encourage all of us, myself included, this week, I'm going to take on going back to all those people that I've invited and that who said that they're coming and they've signed up and they've enrolled and they're not showing up. And I'm just going to have a very frank and honest conversation with them, because it matters to me that they're not showing up, not because we want to, you know, we want to have people just to have bums in seats, but because if they don't get on the point here and get aligned, it's going to be very difficult for me as I start to elevate who I'm being in the world and where I'm coming from. It's going to be very difficult for me to be in the type of relationship I want to be in with that person. You know, it's just, there's going to start to be some disconnects. And so because I care about this person, whoever it is, or all of these people that I've invited, and I want to see them live an aligned life, I want to see them enjoy and be totally fulfilled, it's my responsibility to ensure that I do everything I can in my power to get them to start engaging. At the end of the day, we can't control people's choices, but I know that I can do a lot more than I've done, and I'd invite everybody to do the same, especially now that we're doing the being experiment. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for your time this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week, and we will see you in the Facebook chat. Start engaging in the practices, doing the work. We'll be posting the practices that Anurag noted in the Facebook group as a reminder. In case you didn't write it down, we'll probably have those up tonight, worst case tomorrow morning. Okay? All right. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.